Hey, what's going on? I'm Keys here at Sports Vibes TV, and this is another edition of the Knicks Sunday stream. I'm joined, as always, by our NBA analyst, Stephen Fox. Foxy, how's everything with you?
All is good. Salute to you. Salute to the chat. Salute to the SV Nation. I can't wait to talk Knicks basketball tonight with us, with everybody.
Yep, salute to SV Nation. We've got a lot to discuss. There's two games we have to talk about, the Knicks versus Heat, and also the game that transpired today, the Knicks versus 76ers. Also, we want to get into RJ Barrett and his recent performance coming out of the All-Star break. And we're going to talk about the Knicks' fourth quarter struggle because we have some stats that we want to present to you guys just to show you how anemic this team has been offensively in the fourth quarter. So I just want to jump into the chat, say what's up to a couple people that have already tuned in. Wilson Dang, want to give a shout out to you. Scott P, D Beer, salute. Kaiser Soze 718. We see you in chat as well. Thank you for tuning in. Anybody want to shout out, Foxy?
Yeah, UBG, Still Dre, Juan Ventura. You said DBR already. I don't know if my boy D is Ballin is in yet. Justin L, Kentucky's finest. If he'll be here. If not, we're thinking about him as always. My friend Janine and Maverick Carter Art. So Will Salkin, a great old friend. So we'll catch up with a lot of you. Woo! I have a split personality tonight.
I caught the joke. That was a good one. They gave you the boot early.
Yo, and Ron from Still Knicks fans. Hope all is well. Can't wait for Sports Vibe TV Lounge a little later. We'll answer your questions, but we'll stop by during the show and give everybody shout outs. We love you, SV Nation.
All right, so Foxy, let's jump right into the game today. Knicks lost 125 to 109. We did see a solid performance from RJ Barrett. I think he was aggressive. That's something we're starting to see from him throughout the post All-Star period. Anything that you saw from tonight's game outside of RJ Barrett that might have really stuck out to you, or we already have issues with Tibbs's rotation? I'm sure that's something that really jumped out. I think we talked before we came on about the fact that for some reason Tibbs decided to pull Cam in the fourth quarter and throw Burks back in. And I think that's really what allowed the 76ers to get separation, because I think throughout the game there were some ups and downs, but for the most part it was competitive. And then when Tibbs made that substitution, put Burks back in, everything kind of went to hell.
Yeah, we'll get into that. It absolutely burned the hell out of me. Our starting in his rotation of our backcourt or our point guards combining for an unbelievable 1 assist between Burks and IQ. So, but getting back to your thing, RJ, I was really liked Jimmy Butler after the game the other night, talking about his respect for him. Hey, he didn't just score 46 points. He scored 46 points against Jimmy Butler. So that takes it to a whole nother level. So props to RJ. And you know what else I loved about him after the game? A lot of people could talk. The first thing is like, I'm really pissed about my foul shooting. So he knows it's something he has to work on. But I love somebody that has a career game. And, you can play a lifetime in this league and never get near that half century, that 50-point mark. And, he knows he was just easy foul shots away from that. But it's something he focused on. He'll get better. But special. The only weird thing was on the game in the Heat, he scored 46 points on 22 points, and today he scored 24 points on 22 shots. So 2 games, 22 shots, 46 points in one and 24 in the other. So from an efficiency standpoint, but it's all on his back. He needs help. So props to RJ, man. And again, coming off a bum ankle. So all those things put in there, I can't ask any more from this young man.
I hear you. But anything from the game today that really stuck out to you?
Well, 79 foul shots. It was like, that was a really ugly game. It's like, my God, foul shots, foul shots, foul shot. Obviously, foul shooting. I keep shaking my head. We shot 22 for 35, 62, almost, I'll round it off and give them the benefit, 63%. And, I know myself, you, and the SV Nation were like, Jesus, man, how does that happen? How do you get even less than 70%? But we did a good job, or we've been doing a good job on that. So we're giving away points or not taking advantage of it. So there were a lot of things from a positive standpoint. Sims play, so I was really, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, look at him. He has a lot to learn, but you can't teach his athleticism. I think he had 9 rebounds in the first quarter alone. Finished up with 10 for the game, but at the same time, it hit me between the eyes. It's like Tibbs kept this kid's development curve has been impacted because you played Taj because of why. So not giving Sims any time and burn. So that hit me real hard. That, again, Tibbs IQ, I was glad, 21 points, again, that 1 assist. So I like him at that shooting guard percentage. But when you say that him and Alec Burks together had 1 assist and Deuce didn't get any playing time, for what reason? Are you kidding me? And Burks, so we talked about RJ Randall. I don't know how many times Doris Burke on the ABC on ABC
killed him on the broadcast.
How many defensive mistakes did he make? I mean, one after the other. So 16 points, 13 shots. Last game, 11 points, 15 shots. Mr. Inefficiency again. And like you said, Cam looked good. So and again, it's the stuff that just gnaws at me that he played 16 and a half minutes today. Cam looked nice, had some beautiful drives and stuff like that, hitting the shots. Burks
had a nice pass too, right before he got taken out.
Beautiful.
And I'm like, you want the guy to play and be a part of the team, and he makes a team play like that, setting up Obi for the easy basket, and then you pull him out for Alec Burks. Come on, man.
Yeah, but I'm like saying to myself, so he plays 16 and a half minutes. Burks plays 34 minutes. And they both had 6 points. Are you kidding me? And you didn't play Cam for what reason? Mitch didn't show up the last couple of games, man. He didn't show up for today, that's for sure. And thank goodness for Sims playing his heart out. And hey, man, you go against a guy in the MVP running like that, and it's like, wow, he got a lot of fouls. Anybody would get fouls with that dude.
Yep.
He's magnificent. So, but I just wish Mitch, there was more from him today. I
was a little thrown off, honestly, with the fact that Sims picked up the 2 early fouls and that Tibbs stayed with them, because I was expecting Tibbs to now decide, okay, this is the perfect opportunity for me to sneak, Nerlens into the rotation, seeing that Mitch and Sims both had 2 fouls, but he stuck with him. And for me, that was an encouraging sign. But then Stephon Bondi, he sent out a tweet saying the reason Nerlens isn't really in the mix is because he's dealing with plantar fasciitis. So I'm saying, is this really what we should expect moving forward, or is this just because Tibbs doesn't have those guys available that he's actually giving Sims the opportunity to play? And Sims was a beast after those 2 fouls. I believe he picked up a block and he forced a turnover,
a steal too. Yeah,
you can see that he actually can contribute and has an impact out there on the court. But for Tibbs to not have gone to this guy, especially in the season due to COVID, he's not restricted being on that 2-way contract. He can play as many games as he's, as Tibbs would want him to.
Yeah, no one's talked about Dr. Answorth Allen. SV Nation, you may not know who he is, but he's the New York Knicks team doctor and orthopedic. Nerlens, how the hell did we sign Kemba? And how the hell did we sign Nerlens Noel? Isn't this guy doing examinations, or he just gives the checkoff mark because the front office wants it? Nerlens, what do we need? Like a roll of toilet paper. Knee injury, hamstring injury, back injury, plantar fasciitis. It's never ending with this guy. So it's like, the good news, nobody had a terrible injury on the Knicks this year, but he should, it's the equivalent. He has not played this year. So I don't know how the hell both Kemba and now that he's not here, but Nerlens that we're talking about, how the hell we signed this guy, because he's just unhealthy from day one. It's, so it just drives me crazy. And so that guy, Dr. Answorth Allen, I don't know how he has a job, but I guess he's just a puppet for the front office to just say, yeah, this is the guy I want, I'll give you a check off. But it's crazy. And Fournier played a good game. Got to give him props. He shot well. Obi had a normal night, can't shoot. And from the outside, 6 points, 2 rebounds. It's becoming a normal thing for Obi. He can't shoot from the outside. And so he realizes after his first miss or two that he fakes it, and then he drives to the basket and looks like a dawn that was just born, a deer that was just born, all awkward in legs and arms, and the ball goes up and stuff. So, oh boy. So,
but we did see Tibbs try to employ the small ball lineup some.
It wasn't absolutely
effective, but I guess because Tibbs had his hands tied due to the foul trouble, we did see instances where there was, Julius Randle and Obi out there. We've been clamoring for that all season. It just sucks that we had to go to it because of foul trouble and in a situation where we were at a disadvantage going up against a guy like, Embiid and James Harden, who has the ability to get into the paint. We really needed the rim protection. I think those two in the pick and roll just abused us at will.
And again, Darsberg talking. It's like, look at Julius Randle on this play. His feeble attempt of a steal on Embiid just stands there. Embiid goes down for a monster jam in crunch time. It was basically, that's when they started pulling away and stuff like that. But his effort and everything else, it just really, really upset me, man. It's like you were saying, from Tibbs, it just never ends with this guy. His rotations and stuff like that, and him lying to the fans. He's shooting a career low, 38% from the field this season. Over the last 8 games heading into the All-Star break, he shot 33% from the floor, 25% from downtown. So he's the best option. Again, 0 assists today, 6 points in 34 minutes. So, you can't lie to the SV Nation and the Knicks fandom that way, because it's just absolutely BS what he's saying. He shouldn't be playing. So I'm happy that Kemba's not around, and D Rose, he's a class act, but I think they should shut him down for the year. Shut down Taj for the rest of the year and let Sims get those minutes, or just and I have no problem shutting down Burks. Let Cam play. He showed it. You're seeing these flashes, and you're like, give him some time, give him some. And there was one play where Randle gave Cam a dirty look where Cam, I think, created the steal.
Forced a turnover and had the lane, and Julius Randle bumped into him. Get out the way. The guy made a defensive play. Allow him to get the love on the other side of the court.
Oh,
and then Julius Randle's the one that showed frustration out there. I'd be frustrated if I was Cam. You got me hustling out here, and now you're upset because you're getting in the way.
You're so cool, man. I love that. Some things we don't talk about, but we feel the same way. I'm like looking like, what the hell are you giving him a dirty look for, man? Like you just said, it's like, let him finish, let him. And also he's trying to get his rhythm on the court, placement and stuff like that. And I'm just saying, Julius, in the game against Miami, Julius just never stops. RJ's having this career game, and he's exhausted. He comes off not playing basically for almost, what was it, 3 weeks or whatever, with the ankle and stuff like that. He throws a lazy pass. He gets the inbound, dribbles up, throws a lazy pass that gets stolen. Instead of, he throws the pass to Randle, the guy intercepts it, dribbles down. Randle, rather than seeing that running after the guy, he just stands there and gives RJ a dirty look. And I'm just like saying, Lord, in the offseason, we need to get rid of this guy. We need, and well, 2010-5, 2010-5. And I'm like, no, it's not 2010-5. If you add up, he's averaging basically every game 4 turnovers. And if you put the points, there's a reason there's that stat, points off of turnovers. If you add the points from turnovers that the other team's getting on because of Randle's turnovers, he's not averaging 20. He's averaging probably about 11, 12, 14 points because he's giving away things. And like he said, when a guy does something bad, I was watching 100 basketball games, the college games this weekend, and I love it. And I'm watching Jaden Ivey, and he makes his bad pass, and he goes like this. It was on me. I'm like, I like that kid. Julius, like you said, whether it's cameras and everything, gives a look like, what the hell are you giving him a look for? It was on you, man. Mm-hmm. So it's like, from a culture perspective, etc., we got to do some stuff, man. We got to do some stuff with this team. And, and in the Miami game, a shout out to my friend, D is Ballin'. He sends me a thing like, did you just see what happened? I'm like, what do you mean? He sends me this little clip. And he's like, watch what happens when Grimes got hurt. No Nick walked over to him. He's writhing in pain. He's loud, he's vocal and everything. And the Knicks, I don't know if it's just being a Bronx boy or the lessons my dad taught me. You never leave your homeboys behind, man. You always got your brother's back. He's lying on the floor, and it broke my heart. And I love RJ, but RJ and Sims never turned around. They just walked away, and only one who walked over after a second or so was Obi. But it was like, where was everybody running over to this kid? We got to really, obviously, RJ is a keeper, and he's putting a lot of stuff is going through his head. But where the hell's the culture of this team? Tibbs came in, and the front office came in like, we got to turn this culture around. Not with Tibbs and not with Randall. We got the wrong coach, and we got the wrong guy on this team, and a couple others. Let's just get them out here. But I felt badly. It was good news for Grimes, but I also think we should shut that kid down for the year now. By the time he comes back, it'll be maybe 10 games to go. There's no reason to push it, man. Especially after what we just talked about, this doctor on the Knicks. I don't trust anything what the hell he's saying.
Yeah, I hear you. We got a super chat from Sale. Says Burks 34 minutes last 2 games, Cam 15 minutes last 3 games. Why? Yeah, I don't understand it, especially when Cam is doing a lot of the things that Tibbs is asking from him. He's making hustle plays. He's playing solid transition defense, even though other players out there on the court aren't doing the same. And you see Cam has the talent. There was a play. He was able to get to the paint. I mean, he took his last step at almost the dotted lines, and somehow he was still able to lay the ball up on the right hand of the cup. He also had that drive, what was it, to the left-hand side, where he was able to fade, going towards the baseline. It was a beautiful shot, tough shot, and it shows what Cam can do out there if given an opportunity. But even though when Cam is given minutes, they're not even giving him, they're not running any plays for him. He's pretty much stuck there at the corner, and then he's running from the corner to the next base, to the other side of when he runs baseline to the other corner. That's pretty much what he's doing. And I think we should try, especially with that second unit, if we're not going to start Cam, at least give Cam the opportunity to be somewhat creative with the ball in his hand. We've seen that when he's able to drive and get into the paint, he makes some decent decisions, and he makes some nice passes. When he's doing that, he's a plus. Yeah, there's some issues at times where he can make some boneheaded decisions, but you have to allow him, a young talent, to kind of play through that and not try and yank him out at any given moment just because he made a bad play here and there. I think Tibbs did that in the game when he did it with Quick. Quick made a couple bad decisions. He pulled them out and threw Burks back in. But we saw when you allow Quickly to kind of play through some of his struggles, he was able to light it up somewhat in the second half, and at least get to the foul line and get some points that way.
Yeah, and like you said with Cam, man, he has these elite tools where whether it's a Euro step or a move, and we're just like, whoa, I don't know of another Nick on this team that could do done what Cam just did, but not giving him that opportunity. It's and also the season's slipping away. Why aren't you giving this opportunity? And I don't mean anything, Burks. It's like he's not it. You're using him in the wrong way. He's effective when you used him last year as a guy in the second team that played X amount of minutes as a shooting, as a small forward, but not as a point guard, not trying to do all these other things. That's not who he is. So his whole game is off, and you're not giving somebody else. So we trade a first round pick in Knox to get a guy that you're not even utilizing. That's really bad, bad management.
Yes, and speaking of bad management, we're talking about bad management, bad coaching. We're talking about the team and how we're struggling offensively. You look at this team defensively, we gave up 125 points to the 76ers. And at times, Maxey was out there killing Alec Burks. And you see Deuce, he's a DMP. He's a player that we could have put out there and tried to have him make life difficult for Maxey. And, maybe the outcome of the game kind of sways. But, I'm not saying, Deuce could be that big of a difference maker, but we won't know unless Tibbs puts him out there on the court. And the fact that he played only 2 minutes against the Miami Heat, and now in this game he's a DMP, to me it's disrespectful, especially when this is a roster where we do not have a legit point guard. The only player that we can say right now is a legit point guard, or at least has the best prospects to be out there on the court, is Deuce, and now he's getting DMPs for what reason, we don't know.
Tibbs would have said, don't forget that 8 seconds. It was 2 minutes and 8 seconds. It wasn't just 2 minutes. So yeah, it's yeah. And we're both saying to ourselves, there's not a question in our head. You're trying to tell me Deuce wouldn't play as good defense, if not better defense. So get the hell out of here. And then a guy's adding what did he score 6 points against the Heat? Burks. He scored actually he scored 12 points against the Heat. But yeah, so it's lunacy and everyone's just shaking their head. But a few more losses, maybe our dreams will come true, and Deuce will get the burn where it'll finally be the straw that breaks the camel's back and say, okay, we're gonna no more Burks, no more Taj. Kemba's already out of here. D Rose, unfortunately, because of health, we're gonna go full blast. The only thing that breaks my heart is Grimes had to get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what we decide to do when Rose comes back because it seems like it was just a minor procedure, and they're hoping to get him back as quickly as possible to try and fuel some run into the playing game.
But from a math perspective, if he's out because of that infection in the surgical area that they said 1 to 2 weeks, it'll be about 10 games left. So what is the run? And by that time, we're already 11 games under 500. I think almost 4 or whatever games out of the last spot. I don't see, we're playing the 76ers again, then we play the Suns, and then we go West Coast. So I don't see it getting better. I see it getting worse. But there is a bright spot, and if you put the kids in and let them develop, it's not a loss if the kids are developing. It's a loss if you have the damn vets in.
And that's what we're seeing with Alec Burks getting the amount of minutes he's getting. I don't know if they'll shut him down, but they definitely need to reduce the amount of minutes he's getting on this team, especially when we have guys like Deuce getting a DNP. Cam can't get 20, 25 minutes a game. I really don't see the need to throw Burks out there because right now I don't think you're upping his trade value for the offseason. You might be doing the opposite effect.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
So, Foxy, want to chop it up and talk about RJ a little bit more and just talk about what you're seeing from him throughout the last 2 games against the Heat, where he had 46 points, and then tonight against the today against the 76ers. I know one thing I've seen from him, he's been a lot more aggressive. The team seems to be running the offense through him more. You can see that with his usage rate, especially his usage against the Heat. Let me put it up on screen for you guys. All right. So as you can see, his usage rate against the Miami Heat was 39.8. And I think he was very crafty in the way he attacked the Miami defense. He was able to try and isolate Tyler Herro, find out wherever he was on the court and have his man set a screen so that way he was going at him one-on-one. And he got into the paint. He got to his spots at will. And also he was knocking down the three. You mentioned earlier he took the same 22 shots, but he had less points against Philly. And that's just because his three-point shot wasn't falling today. Against the Miami Heat, he was shooting 6 of 11, or he shot 6 of 11 from 3. So he was on fire. And when the defense tried to run him off the 3-point line, he was able to get in and get into the paint and be efficient. So I'm liking a lot of what I'm seeing from RJ Barrett. There are some things that the team needs to kind of button up, because when we do go through RJ Barrett, at times it seems like it's just either RJ or him finding Mitch, in the paint for a bucket. There's really not much. There's not any other action out there on the court from those other players playing off ball. So that's something I would like to see develop a little bit more. That way it doesn't look like our offense is somewhat stagnant when we're running the offense through RJ. But for the most part, I'm liking that we're trending this way. We're kind of moving away, from Julius Randle, because he's made some terrible decisions in both games with the ball in his hands. And RJ, he has made some bad decisions as well. But for the most part, I think this team functions better with RJ as the engine. So what are some things you might have seen in the last couple of games from RJ and the offense running through him?
Yeah, I echo so much what you said about his aggressiveness. One of the things that's jumping off the page, and I had before the season started, is like, I want to see more of that right hand. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that big time. And it's funny, I think in real life, he signs stuff with his right hand and stuff like that. So he shoots lefty, but he does a lot of things in his life right-handed. So, D is balling, my boy. Shout out to him. But yeah, using that right hand, and also more of a soft touch, I noticed in his little floater. Last year and stuff was a little, more brick-like. It's much more softer this year. So, and that's everything, that MIDI that we've talked about, that we want him to be that 3-level scorer. We know he's a good catch and shoot 3-pointer. We know he's physical and could get to the hole and stuff. And also the biggest thing that we're talking about, getting to the foul line. We talked at the beginning of the year about him, like, hey, we want him to get to the foul line more. You couldn't ask more in the last few games. The kid getting the line. Well, you can't ask more. Him hitting the foul shots,
making them,
making them. It's
well, we're seeing progress. We're getting there. He's getting to the line now, getting more opportunities.
Yeah, but like I said, I love that he says, I'm really pissed that I missed those foul shots. So, if that's at the top of his list, we know how hard of a worker he is. He's mature beyond his years. He'll work on that and he'll get that. Hey, we're not asking him to be a 90% foul shooter, but you can't, we're just saying, hey, kid, we love you. But, you're a 20-point scorer, but you're not a 20-point scorer because of foul shooting. It makes no sense that you're taking away that from yourself. So, hey, he's grown leaps and bounds. I just want to see him consistent. This is what I've been saying all along. It's like he was a little less efficient today, more like some of the other stuff he's done this year, but still scored that 24 and want him to finish up the season. And I said this, a month or so ago, I had the feeling that he was going to finish up real strong this year, and I was right on that he's going to finish up strong. But I love what Jimmy Butler said. This is the face of our franchise, and whether Randall likes it or not, who gives a hell? But RJ is the face of this franchise, and like you said, I don't think Tibbs is the guy, but we need a coach and everything that's going to give him more than just Mitch to kick it out and do build synergy. And what you said earlier, I love, because you could see little things of him and Cam, like, let these guys get some time together. I think they can be special.
Yeah. And you talk about his touch on the floater. I like the way he's playing the ball off the glass. I mean, there was some layups where the angle he was, attacking and the way he was laying it up, it was just beautiful touch. And the way he was getting the spin off the backboard, I think it was a work of beauty. I'm really liking how he's starting to finish at and around the rim. And coming into the season, that was a big question mark. And and now we're actually seeing him starting to answer, check off some of the boxes. So that's something that I can be encouraged with when it comes to assessing this team and some of the young talent this season. And hopefully he can continue to develop, and we might see at times some point guard RJ out there. It's not necessarily the way I would want us to go full time, but hey, we don't really have a point guard on this roster, and Deuce really isn't being given an opportunity to play point. So if you're looking at Alec Burks and saying, hey, should we have him try to set up the offense? And you're looking at RJ and some of the capabilities he has out there. Even look in the game today, he had 6 assists. So he's able to find his teammates out there and make good decisions and crisp passes. So I think that might be some avenue that the coach Tibbs decides to explore. And, I'd be open to seeing it. It's not, like I said, it's not something I want us to do for the majority of a game, but in spurts, it's something that I think definitely works for this team.
Well, if the offense is
internally constituted.
Yeah, if the offense is running for him, then he's, for all intents and purposes, he's a point guard. So let him do that. But, more than ever, I feel that we need to go after Jalen Brunson in the offseason. I think he's perfect for RJ. He's not a high usage guy versus some other point guards that would, people that say, let's go after him, SGA and all these others. Put the numbers together, and we'll talk about a little later in the show, folks, Donovan Mitchell. But if you put some of these people's usage, that's going to hurt RJ's development. I really feel very strongly that Jalen is a great piece in the offseason as a free agent. Do what we need to do. But Jalen would be, especially closing, one of the scariest stats that I saw so far, that came out was we're minus 84 in our last 9 fourth quarters. So we don't have people getting them in the right place. We don't have people closing. We can't do it. I think Jalen would be helping RJ's development greatly. He's elite at the rim, finishing at the rim. Brunson, he's elite in mid-range, and he shoots league average at the 3. He's a mature professional, about culture. He's a Villanova tough. I think he's the right person for RJ, to make RJ allow him to go to the next level. And it's cool saying, yeah, he's the face of the franchise. I don't need to be that. I just want a winning team.
I just want my 20 mil. Don't forget that point.
Yeah, but you know what? We're seeing, like we talk about, they're paying all these old dudes and everything because you can't get a point guard. It's just a commodity. If you have that talent, I don't blame them. But you know what? I'd rather us pay that tax and get somebody who's going to allow than pay the tax for De'Aaron Fox and something and saying, why isn't RJ developing? Because of the usage, he's not getting the ball and he's not getting the stuff like he used to. I really feel strongly that Jalen, we paid the 20 million. That's the price of power forwards and stuff like that you can get, but point guards are worth their weight in gold, and you got to pay a tax on them.
Yeah. All right. Just want to give a shout out to Paris Duggar. He has a super chat. He says the young guys after 5 straight games will be nice.
Hi, Parrish. Hope all is well with you and your family. He's always wonderful, man.
Parrish.
Supporting us for a long time. But yeah, man, I'm with you. It's a game of chemistry. It's a game of knowing each other's moves, their tendencies. And you're right, Parrish. Give them 5 games or so for them to get their rhythm. And I think one thing for sure, we know they're going to play a hell of a lot better D than some of these dudes, these vets on this team. That's why when Tibbs says, I think this is the best, we're giving up 120 points. What are you talking about? One game after the other, after another. Like, what are you talking about? Jesus, man. God.
And one thing I'll say about the young guys, I like that second unit when RJ kind of overlaps with them, where you have Quick, you have RJ, no Grimes, but when Grimes is available, have Grimes in there, Cam, Obi, and Sims. I think those 5 out there, not including Grimes because he's hurt, but those 5 out there is a pretty interesting lineup. Like you said, it'll get RJ and Cam to play some more minutes together. And I think we've seen some chemistry between those two in the short periods of time Tibbs does have them on the court together. I think that still that Cam, when he poked the ball loose, it went straight to RJ, and it looked like RJ was about to give it right back to him. But, Julius Randle, he kind of messed that up. So to play the young guys together is definitely, I think, that's why I put the young guys on the thumbnail. This should be the face of the New York Knicks moving forward. This is what the Knicks should be investing in, as opposed to Alec Burks playing the 34 some odd minutes. Luckily Nerlens Noel didn't get any play, but we're hearing it's because he's injured. So I want to see what this coach is going to do when those guys are available to him, because then I can make a more accurate, judgment of what Tibbs is trying to do moving forward. Because it's really hard to kind of read what Tibbs is trying to do with this team. It's hard to read what the front office is trying to do with this team, and they're not really telling us much. Coach Tibbs is for the most part giving us coach speak. The front office isn't saying anything. We're just getting leaks here and there. So, I hope that the face of the franchise is going to be these young guys moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was about to ask you a question, but it doesn't make sense now. I was going to ask you, do you think there's any strategy where they're taking a step back and say, hey, let's be real. Let's look at the last, 19 or so games that we have left in this season. And when do we finally say, okay, the math, do we wait for the math, or we just say, let's just be real and let's sit these guys and play the youth? So is it going to be with 10 games to go? Is it going to be 5 games to go? Or is it going to be, in 2 games? But like you said, I have no feel. And especially like we were saying today, perfect time for Deuce, perfect time for Deuce, perfect time for Cam. Come on, let's play Cam a little more. And you're like, what are you waiting for? So we have a coach who's trying to win games that are unwinnable games. And you're seeing like defensive lapses and stuff like that. Like, we're going to get killed. So how are we going to win a game? It's a game of stops. So if you're, we're shooting, what would we shoot today? 33% from 3. We're not going to, I always say the magic line, the algorithm is we have to keep the opponent under 38% and we have to shoot over 38%. If we don't shoot over 38% from 3 with this team, we're going to lose the game. And when we lucked the hell out that they only shot 30% from 3, because if they were hitting threes, folks, this would have been over real early.
It's gonna blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you ask, what direction or when they're gonna pull a plug on the season. I don't even like using that term, pull a plug on the season. But when they're gonna make that shift, honestly, I don't know, because when you have an owner like James Dolan, I don't know how he's going to respond to us going from making the playoffs last season, looking like we were on the right path, to now everything being in shambles. So I don't want to say I can understand, but I can see why they might try to say, all right, in a last ditch effort, let's try to make a push towards the playoffs just to try and save our jobs, because there's no guarantee if we miss the playoffs that James Dolan is going to want to retain Tom Thibodeau. He might even say it's time to bring in a new front office. What is this, 3 years under Leon Rose?
Yeah, it is.
I probably sound like a broken record, but if you look at the Rangers, that front office only had 3 years before he got rid of them, and they look like they're back on the right track now. So if James Dolan has precedent where he moved on from a front office and now he's seeing positive results the year after, he could decide to do the same thing. So if the front office and the coaching staff say, hey, we have to make a last-ditch effort to at least try to make the playing games to save our job, I can see them continuing to play the vets heavy minutes if Tibbs can quote-unquote sell that as the best way for this team to win.
Yeah, I was hoping that Dolan, obviously, is a bright man. You don't become a billionaire being an idiot, but well, if you have a father that starts a father,
he inherited it.
I caught myself.
He didn't make the billions.
Yeah, when you grow up like we got everything. There's no puppet strings, and we earn our own stuff. I forgot. Yeah, he was given $1 billion. That's not bad, but he's still a bright guy, and it's like, hey, man, and one of the things I shared with Keith that I was hoping that there's outside factors that are coming in is the TV ratings. The TV ratings are brutal, folks. I forgot what, I think we're 15th. Right now, we have we're number 15 in ratings. So we have OKC, Indiana. So the Knicks fans are telling Dolan, this is not a good product. We're tired of this SHI, you know what? I'm trying to watch my language on this show, and we're not going to watch this stuff. So all these teams, and also Denver Nuggets are the worst team. So you're thinking with Joker and stuff like that, they have the lowest TV rating in the league, by the lowest in 15 years. So people are not liking the product, but so I'm hoping that this guy that owns cable and everything, that he's rating centric, that he's very sensitive to ratings, and people are like tuning out saying, no, man, I'm not going to watch this. This is bad basketball. I'm tired of this. And like you said, a couple of years ago, we're saying to ourselves, yeah, front office, we got some cap room and everything else. They're really going to, World Wide West, these great connections. Leon's an agent. We're setting ourselves up, and what? We don't have any more cap room? No, where'd the money go? Well, Julius, you didn't give Julius another year to prove himself. You could always get another. No, 116 million guaranteed. All right. What about, oh, you used it for Nerlens Noel? Wait a minute. What else? You used it for, so we don't have any cap room, and those are the players that you spent it on. And then we're looking at the around the league, and we're saying, DeRozan was available, and they're like, some in the front office like DeRozan, some like Fournier, and like I said last week, I don't know how you can have them both in the same sentence. So it's like, I know, like you said, the Rangers, whatever, 3 years, but they haven't they have shown something. They've shown that they're agents and they're not basketball people. Kemba was a smokescreen, and that's why I brought up the doctor. He should never have been signed in the first place, and the reason why is, why did OKC buy him out? He was washed, and they know he was a great kid. So somebody that has somewhat of a game, and the team's like saying, we need chemistry. We need to have a vet to stabilize some of the young guys. You need a balance. You need a little mix. You can't have all kids. But if they said, nah, Kemba, because you can't get a better dude than Kemba. So it was basically saying he's washed. If we play him, he'll be out. And you know what? My brain went to an article at the beginning of the season when we first signed them. A professor from Northwestern University, that's an orthopedic surgeon, that just said that it's going to be how much pain that he can endure. Basically, in that knee, it's all about pain. And he said, as a point guard, he's not going to be able to do stuff. So this guy, this orthopedic surgeon said exactly what was going to happen with Kemba. So why does our team doctor, who has unbelievable credentials, Cornell, he's head of stuff at hospital of special surgery. You can't get a better hospital than hospital of special surgery in the world, actually, for certain procedures. And yet we signed this guy. So the front office has failed miserably. So they need to do something. And like I said, I really felt that after the terrible loss to the Nets and blowing that huge lead, it was the perfect time to say, Tom, we're going to still pay you. I'm sorry, but thank you. But, your service is no longer needed. Johnny Bryant, we have 20 some odd games. We want to see your fresh look at the game. We want to see your fresh up rotations, what you think, we want to hear from you and what you think. We'll give you a good thing. And in the off season, we'll think about who's going to, whether it's Johnny or whether it's a Kenny Atkinson that we've talked about. Tibbs is not the answer. In every game we watch, it reinforces to us, the Knick fandom, especially our family, the SV Nation, like, what the hell is going on? What is this guy doing?
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit in a few, but I want to give a shout out to Citizen X in his super chat. He says, do you guys think Tibbs and Randle may have hampered RJ's development? How much accountability does the front office deserve? I definitely think that Tibbs and Randle have kind of hampered RJ's growth throughout their time here in New York. I think Tibbs at times enables Julius Randle, and it doesn't put RJ in the best position out there on the court. I think since we started, this team should have been running everything through RJ. He's the guard out there. He should be bringing up the ball. If Julius Randle does it, here and again, once in a while, I'm not going to get upset. But I think this team has invested a little bit too much in Julius Randle. When you look at the contract extension, when you look at some of the free agents that they brought in, I think that was tailored more so towards Julius Randle. If we would have done things different and made decisions where we tried to make RJ Barrett the centerpiece, then I think that would have, maybe he doesn't struggle as much. Maybe he has a little bit more consistency, because I think the way everything is set up right now, it was kind of set up with Julius Randle as the one. And if the team was set up more so where RJ and his needs were catered to a little bit more out there on the court, then we might see this team have a better start to the season than what we saw with Julius Randle, because the team invested heavily in Julius Randle and he was a no-show for the first half of the season. And I think that really hurt RJ and, could have added to some of his struggles on the court, him not having a guy out there that he could rely on game in and game out, because us as fans, we couldn't rely on Julius Randle game in and game out. And then you have a coach like Tom Thibodeau who really can't adjust. So he and his coaching isn't putting RJ Barrett in the best positions out there on the court. So, I do think those two have negatively impacted RJ's growth this season.
Yeah.
Foxy, what about you? What do you think?
The one thing I love the way you articulate stuff, because it was so visual to me. The first thing that popped in my head is RJ clapping his game a few games ago. Give me that ball. Give me that ball. And Randle sabotaging him, holding that ball and basically giving him the ball where he had to put up a 34-foot three rather than he was eating that game. Let him go, set up a screen, let him go. And either he was going to go to the hole and get a basket or he was going to get fouled. But let him. But Randle was like saying, "No, I'm not going to give up the helm of this team." And now it's pretty much. I think it's going to be over. Forget about Julius ever being on the face of this. Nobody wants him on the face of this organization. We want him the hell out of it. But you're 100% right. And Citizen X Man of the SV Nation, thanks for your super chat. But yeah, his development, and also in the offseason, again, you don't bring in Kemba. You don't want to go for Lonzo. You have all these connections. And I'm like saying to myself, one of the players I said early on, and again, using your connections, was Kyle Lowry. Yeah, he's an older guy, but look what he's doing with Miami. He's the type of guy that with a kid like RJ that would help his development. He's that type of guy. So we didn't bring in that stabilizing force, especially a point guard that puts everyone in their spot and has that Villanova tough attitude on defense that's going to be just, if you're not a dog, Kyle Lowry would be getting in your face type of dude. Who do you bring in? A guy that's smiling and cracking everybody on the ass. Yeah, isn't this great? Yeah, Kemba, yeah. Stop that shit. That's our competitor. You want to do it in the locker room afterwards, but this is like the sentimental tour. Stop that. So we didn't bring in the right players for RJ's development, and like you said, they focused too much on Randall, and now it's biting them.
Yep. Couldn't rely on him, and now we're paying for it, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
like,
Okay, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead. Say what you wanted to say.
No, I was just going to say there's 163 people in the chat. We have 58 likes. So do me a favor, smash that like button, smash that subscribe, and please turn on that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content from Sports Vibes TV. Please share the link on your favorite social media platforms. And as always, shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do.
Yeah, so Foxy, I want to pivot a little bit and focus on what the Knicks have been doing in the fourth quarter over the last 8 games. Now, as you can see, this team has pretty much been the worst team in the fourth quarter. We're 30th in points per game, 30th in assists per game, 30th in field goal, 30th in three-point percentage. And, luckily for us, we're not the worst team when it comes to turnover, but we're damn near at 29th. And like I said before the show, ironically, the worst team in the fourth quarter with turnovers is the Boston Celtics. But meanwhile, they've been one of the best performing teams in the fourth quarter. So that was a little weird when
their record's almost inverse of the Knicks, and yet
exactly.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the cause for the Knicks' struggles? I think there's 2 camps, or actually some.
Well, you're showing the answer on the screen. Tom Thibodeau.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Some people think it's Tibbs and his coaching, and others people may point to the fact that this team still doesn't have a point guard to really get this team into their sets and know who the hot hand is and to continue to feed the hot hand or find easy buckets for their teammates. So in your opinion, what do you think is the crux of the issue for the Knicks in the fourth quarter over the last 8 games?
You just nailed it. Tibbs rotations, and 2, us not putting in a point guard that puts people in their spots, and also that we have a dog that can make a basket. There's nobody. We don't, RJ we see coming in, but we don't have anybody that you can give the ball to and say we need a basket. We did. His name was D Rose, and he got injured. That was the only player on the team that has that capability to do that. And like, wow, he just did that play. And but once D Rose wasn't there, we saw there was a void of that type of ability on this team, and that killed us. So our front office didn't say, "Yo, we lost D Rose. We're going to have to get somebody that does that." No, we didn't get anybody like that at all. So that's not Cam's game either. So they got Cam, and he's a young kid. But yeah, we don't have a closer. We don't have somebody that sees the floor and sees what they're giving, what's the best shot. So they're putting up shots that all of us, whether it's IQ or others, that we're saying, God, the shot selection is terrible. Why, Julius, are you putting up that 30-footer and stuff like that? So it's a combination of front office and Tibbs all over again, and putting on players on that either they're playing them out of the position like we've seen with Burks and others, or it's just one thing. If that in third quarters, we've been killed with third quarters coming out of the locker room, and then in the last bit of the game, the second team brings us all the way back so many times this year, just to get killed in the fourth quarter. And like you're saying, you see, wow, this is close. Oh my God, it's over, and they scored 120 points. It's like, yep. Wow,
in the blink of an eye.
A blink of an eye. Oh, I thought it was going to be a little closer, and wow, we still gave up 120 points, man, or more.
Yep. It's tough because you look at the team last season, and we didn't have, we had an identity, and that identity was our defense. So even though we didn't have a legit point guard, we had Elfrid Payton, at least we can keep things close so that when one of our guys, whether that be Julius Randle, who had a better season last year, or RJ Barrett, at least when they were able to make shots, it wasn't that big of a lead that they had to chip into. Now we're seeing teams get whatever they want defensively in the fourth quarter, and then in fourth quarters, it's like this team does not know how to execute. We are extremely careless with the basketball. We have poor shot selection, and I believe that if we had a point guard on this team, I think we'd get better looks, I believe. But I think with Tibbs, it's just his rotations and his philosophy out there on the court just puts us in bad predicaments because either he's overplaying some of our starters so that they don't have the energy late in games, or he's putting the wrong rotations out there. He's putting players like an Alec Burks, who we know is not in the best position trying to be that point guard, and now he's in a situation where Julius Randle gets caught up, the ball's in Alec Burks' hand, and now he has to do a little bit too much. He still has to look to score somewhat, but him being the point guard, he has to make sure and try to find his teammates out there. And I think when he's asked to do too much, he's asked to create a little bit too much off the dribble, because I don't think he has the best handle. He has decent handle, but he doesn't have tight enough handles to be a legitimate point guard to break down the defense, get into the paint, and then find teammates. So he's not able to do that in those high intensity moments. That's when opposing team, you would expect them to ratchet up their defense. So he's not able to attack opposing teams like that. We really, RJ's getting there, but at times, sometimes it could be a little bit too much because he doesn't have the talent on the court with him, because Tibbs, per his substitutions, doesn't have the players that give us the most energy out there. So RJ's asked to do a little bit too much. And Julius Randle, he's just inconsistent. You don't know what he's going to get from him in the fourth quarter. So I think you look at that. For me, I think the fourth quarter struggles lie squarely on Tom Thibodeau's shoulders. Yes, we do need a point guard, and I think a point guard would help somewhat. But when you have Tom Thibodeau running the show, he's gonna, I think, put this team in a bad position in late stretches.
Yeah, and also offensive scheme. Every time we watch games, it's like, oh my God, teams actually cut to the basket. They actually have cutters. It's like, right? and we watch
ball movement for the Knicks, none whatsoever. I talked about that with RJ Barrett. When he has the ball in his hand, everybody's standing around outside of Mitch. It looks terrible out there, honestly.
Yeah, so it's like saying, and there was a play earlier today that they used. It was a nice play where Obi cut to the basket, the defender moved, and it opened up a three and stuff like that. But that type of stuff that we don't see it, and yet when we see other teams, like, look at that, look how they're cutting to the basket on that thing. That's just smart basketball, how they're playing.
Thibault today, there was a couple plays where Harden found Thibault when he was cutting for easy baskets, wide open,
wide open, nobody near it. And it's like, yo, that was another broken assignment, defense assignment, and you just see the guys looking at each other, and it's like, and this is a defensive genius, Tibbs, that I don't see it. And so yeah, one thing after the other. Plays after we talked about the worst plays in can't inbound balls. Burks, every time he inbounds a ball in a critical point of the game, you're just saying, Jesus, not again. So one thing after the other, where I think all of us are exhausted in the Knicks nation, the SV nation, of just saying, this is lunacy. Why are you doing the same things every time? And, to have a fade away from, so our answer is a fade away from Julius with 4 seconds left on the shot clock. Come on, man.
Yeah. Terrible coaching in those closing minutes for this team. And I guess it reared its ugly face in this game. I said the minute he put Burks in, I think, what was it, around 7 or 6 minutes to go in the fourth, and the wheels fell off. At that point, the 76ers, they got into a groove, got themselves a lead, and it wasn't the game was never in question after that point, is what I'm looking to say. Took me a while, but I got it out.
Hey, that's my life story. But but you know what? There was a look on the 76ers faces, like basically saying, yeah, we'll turn on. These guys don't got nothing. We're going to kill it. So Embiid, like, I'm going to get fouled every time. They can't stop me. One way or the other, I'm going to get either to the line or I'm going to get a basket. And Harden, they looked like they were playing Tyrese, Maxey. And, I was talking to a friend and I said, the reality was a couple of years, but I read and what I heard through the grapevine is that the Knicks wanted Maxey. And when the 76ers took him, then they turned their attention to IQ. But if IQ and Maxey were there, the Knicks were going to take Maxey, not IQ.
So if you were to compare their games today, Maxey, he was 8 of 14 from the field, 3 of 5 from the 3-point line for 21 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists.
plus
compared to
23.
Quick. Plus 23 compared to Quick was 5 of 13 from the field, 3 of 7 from the 3-point line for 21 points, 5 rebounds, and only 1 assist.
Yeah, yeah, and a -6. What was it? Yeah, -6 on.
-6.
Yeah, so yeah,
Yep.
but he, Maxey has a different game. He's more of a dog on D. Just yeah, it was understandable to me. Every time I watched him, whether against the Knicks and other games, against the Nets or anything, that yeah, Maxey, IQ's been inconsistent. So the 21 points and stuff were okay, but he's not a point guard for the 100,000th time. He's not a point guard. So either get in a point guard, or we're all of us just saying, okay, we'll have to wait the next year and see what Rokas has, and if we can get Brunson. And I don't know, what are you going to give Deuce garbage time in the last 10 games when you finally wake up and stuff? So the guys he's playing with, and they're not developing, man. They're not developing. So I'm watching all these college games saying, there's a guy, and then all of a sudden I say to myself, but he comes to the Knicks. If they went to Golden State, I could see him being like a Kuminga in a couple, developing. But if he comes with Tibbs and everything, what's going to happen? So we're going to get a great kid, and this is the development staff we have? Wow, it's depressing.
Yeah, I think the move the 76ers made for Harden, I think really is going to benefit Maxey a lot, maybe more than some people would think, because Maxey over in Philly, they were trying to, use him as the point guard, which was successful. But now with Harden out there, he can run the show, and it frees up Maxey to be more off ball and just to focus on scoring. And you can see he can get up and down the court quick. He's able to knock down the three. He had some beautiful drives to the basket. So it would have been nice, I think, if we were able to go out there and get Maxey. But the thing is, we would have the same issues, we're having here with Quick. The fact that, Quick probably better off ball, most likely better off ball. And now we're forcing him to be that one because we don't have a point guard. If we would have went and drafted Maxey, Maxey showed to be more effective as a point guard, but I think we would have still kind of thrust him into a position that would have been, that maybe he would have been better suited to be a 2 or to play off ball. So we probably the same issues with Maxey, even though he did show to be a little bit better running the 1 before Harden got there.
And I think a lot of it's on Calipari, that in college they had Higgins, they had Maxey, and they had Quickly, and so they really get the expertise on a point guard. So they come into the NBA one and done, and then you force him. They didn't play that in college, so now you want him in the most elite league in the world, trying to play a position that's critical for everyone to be the best they can be. And that's not what they were trained to do. So it's the wrong league to try to learn, learn on the job. So they're much more comfortable off ball. So when Quickly's at his best, we've talked about it was whether D-Rose and everything. There was a play today where Randall made a good kick out to him and then he hit a 3. But that's when he squares up, he's a really good shooter. But when he's a point guard, his body's all over. So much of IQ's shooting woes this year is because he's not playing shooting guard. That his mechanics and everything off because he's doing stuff off the dribble rather than catch it. And Maxey, there's a lot of similarities, and that's why in this draft this year, people Ty Washington. It's the same thing. It's happening all over again. Saving Wheeler's playing point guard down in, so he's not getting. So you're gonna draft people. Are gonna draft a guy at a point guard position that hasn't played a point guard position. So it's a never-ending thing that comes out of college now. So many of these guys are not playing or learning a point guard position.
Yeah, Bobby Pajama is saying D Rose is our leader.
Yeah, but he's 33 years old. We got to think for the future. Really, we want our leader to be RJ, our young leader, and have an old guy, and he's cool like that, but he's a quiet dude.
And Juan Ventura says Cam brings a different dynamic to the game. Yeah, he's got a pretty game.
Athletic.
I don't understand. Yeah. He's got a nice, he's a nice alternative to RJ Barrett's game. Because RJ is more so bully ball, and then you look at Cam, it's like
smooth and long strides. Yeah. Like, two strides.
It reminds me of a dynamic running back duo, Thunder and Lightning.
Yeah, but more like an Eric Dickinson's. Like he's not gonna bruise you down. He's like, yo, he just hit that corner and whoa, that was sweet, man. That was just pure talent. And Doris talked about it today. You know, he's prototype size, length, and everything. He has the tools. He just needs to put it together. But unfortunately, the poor
He needs to be
guy.
given the opportunity to put it together, and that's
Ding,
what
ding,
Tibbs
ding!
is
Grand
doing.
prize winner, ladies and gentlemen, Keese.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. We got a super chat from Adele Chapman.
Is wonderful, man.
Appreciate your support. It says talent level better the following year in draft. So I'm assuming he's asking is the talent better in the 2023 draft as opposed to 2022.
It's hard to tell at this time. I do know that I know who the top 3 picks are going to be. Well, the top 2. I don't know if Shaden Sharp, a kid out of Kentucky, whether he will declare for this year's draft. And if he does, I think it's going to be a similar scenario to Josh Primo last year, where people are like, wow, the San Antonio picked him at 12. I had him at 24 or 25 in the Grimes range. But basically, they use the mentality, we'll pick him now at 12 because if he goes back to school and comes out this year, he would have been a top 5 pick. So I think that Shaden Sharp may be the same thing, that if he comes out here, he's a wild card because he hasn't played. But if he goes back to Kentucky and plays next year, he'll be a top 5. But basically, Scoot Henderson out of the G League will probably be 1 or 2. And then Victor Wembanyama out of who's like a Chet Holmgren out of France. He'll be the 2023. So there's some guys that are lining up that I see for the 23. But folks, I've been saying this to my friends and stuff. We have to be at the 5 spot or higher. If the drop off from 5, I want Ben Mathurin in the worst way. I don't know if anyone watched games watching even though Arizona lost. Wow, he would be amazing with RJ. His athleticism is electric. He has a magnificent shot. Johnny Davis, magnificent. But after that point, after the 6 and down in this draft, and especially after 10, like we talked about last week, the drop off in this draft is dramatic. They're role players. So if we want to add a star and the people we want, it's going to have to be at 5 or better this year. And but also, is that the Dudley brothers in there? With my old eyes?
No. That was a good one, though. Here's a pretty interesting one from Finesseful J. It says, point RJ would unlock another aspect of his game. To be honest, same with a point Cam. Before y'all come for me, watch his game before Duke. Now, I mentioned in the stream I'd be open to a little bit more of RJ running point. I don't want it to be done a little bit too much, but in spurts, I want RJ to run as the point guard. But Cam, I think is a passer that a lot of people underrate. I think he has good passing skills. He makes solid passes, but his decision making is what would hold him back from being a quote unquote point Cam. Like, he makes some beautiful passes, like we saw one with Obi. We've seen some other bounce passes he's made. But the thing is, sometimes I don't think his level of decision making is there to kind of run the show. So I would like to see him get a little bit better at that, making decisions, making the right reads before we move forward with a quote unquote point Cam.
Yeah, I'm with you. I also think that we've seen with IQ and stuff, I want to take some of the burden off for RJ. Just let him be a shooting guard. Let him eat that way. But from him having all these other things in his head, and let's keep it simple and let's bring in somebody that knows how to play the point. Jalen Brunson.
Well, I mean, we keep saying that we need a point guard, but for some reason, everybody keeps linking us to more shooting guards. This time, we're being linked once again to Donovan Mitchell. And this time, Worldwide West. I guess he's leading the charge on this one.
Did you say worldwide mess?
Right now, we got a worldwide mess on our hands with this New York Knicks. We don't know where we're going as an organization. And I think all agree we got the wrong coach leading the charge. So let me
front office.
And front office. So let me just read what this is coming out, what this is saying about Donovan Mitchell. It says, according to the same person who pointed to Wesley's criticism of Thibodeau, Wesley has been selling his plan, one that eventually will land Utah's Donovan Mitchell, a New York native, But this is not smoozing a high school player and steering him to a college of choice. And it's not so simple, even if the relationships are in place. Rose served as a former agent for Mitchell, and the front office also inserted Johnny Bryant as associate head coach after Bryant served as an assistant in Utah. It's kind of funny they're talking about Johnny Bryant after Tibbs got his first tee. I think what was it, the third quarter? I was
Yeah.
kind of hoping he was getting the second just so we can see what Johnny Bryant can do in the fourth quarter, just to see if we could get a little bit, maybe Bryant could throw us a curveball and throw out a rotation that actually works.
Yeah, Johnny Tibbs is on the phone from the back. He's telling you to not do that substitution.
So, Foxy, how do you go ahead?
I was going to say, do you believe this, or is this just a leak by the front office because everything's breaking down this season to try to give New York fans hope? But the one thing that it's not saying is, like, do you think they'll actually take Julius Randle? If not, who are they going to be asking for? RJ. So it's like, no, we want somebody to compliment RJ. So we're going to have to give up the house for Donovan. So, all right, the great news is we got an elite player like Donovan. Who's he going to be playing with? We just gave up all our assets, gave up the best players on our team. So now he's playing by himself. Didn't we learn anything from the Melo years? So the Melo trade. So, hey, he's 6'1" too. So depending on who you get there. So what do you want, a tiny backcourt, or, who are you going to put him up? So I have great respect for Donovan Mitchell. But unless you have money and buy him as a free agent, which he's not going to be, I think it's just a smoke screen for what the hell's happening with this team to say, hey, let's give it hope. But if they do go that route, it's going to be history repeating himself. He'll be playing by himself. So we'll have a great player with no one around him.
Yeah, the only way I'd make this move for Donovan Mitchell is if we can trade Randle as the centerpiece. RJ, I think, has shown over the last few, weeks.
He's a keeper.
He's a keeper, yeah. So if we can make this deal and do, Julius Randle, maybe get rid of some contracts and throw a boatload of picks, then I'd consider it, because then you'd have a young duo of RJ and Donovan Mitchell, and maybe that might attract another third so that you don't necessarily need the picks to draft a third star. But outside of that, I wouldn't make the deal if I have to include RJ. I think Donovan Mitchell is a dynamic piece, but like you said, we'd have to gut the roster to bring him in alongside of an RJ. So if I am going to gut the roster, it'd be to get, a player that some might view as cancerous to this team, and that's Julius Randle out of here. If we can ship him out of here in that deal, I'm all for it. But outside of that, I'd be hesitant to move RJ at this point. I was hesitant to move RJ in a Bradley Beal deal. I was hesitant to move RJ in a Zach LaVine deal, and I feel the same way in a deal for Donovan Mitchell.
If we can get rid of Julius and give up an IQ, OB, and a draft choice to get Donovan, I'm down for it.
But more than just a draft choice.
I know I'm trying to be cool here, but it's like saying, you know what? No, if I'm a GM, I'm saying, you know what? Let the kids play. And if we come in, definitely we're not going to make the playoffs, not make the play in. But if we can get down to that 5 or so spot and have to use, whether it is a Ben Mathurin, whether it's a Johnny Davis, whether it's a Jaden Ivey, do that, sign a Jalen Brunson, and all of a sudden saying, yo, the starting lineup is Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett at the 2, Ben Mathurin at the 3, or Cam at the 3, Julius, they have to get rid of Julius. They have to get rid of Julius. Culture-wise, development for the young kids wise, if they don't get rid of him, doesn't make a difference what happens in the offseason. If they get rid of people and Donovan Mitchell has Julius Randle, he's going to be crying that he wish he had Rudy Gobert again. It's like, yeah. Rudy doesn't look so bad no more.
I wonder what the beef is between those two.
It's been going on for a while. It's been going on, last year when he got the COVID, he was unhappy and a few other things. So I don't know, man. I don't know about some French players jiving with, guys that grew up here in the States. Some of them just don't work. So, yeah, but he's a wonderful, wonderful player, led him to victory today against the Suns. He's a stud, man, but you got to take a step back and just look at, you want a winning championship caliber team. One person doesn't make a team. That's what would end up if we traded for him.
Yeah. So Not something that I see in the near future, but who knows? The front office could surprise us.
Hey, I'd love to be
Let's
surprised in a good way for a change. So
facts, facts.
just a
And
couple of
let's
yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Go.
you want to give a shout out? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say hi to the family, Tricky Nikki. Hope all is well. Again, Citizen X, thank you so much for the super chat. X Man of the SV Nation, we love you, man. Adele Chapman, again, thank you. Hope all is well with you and the family. Our future media, hey man, been around for a while. My guy D Ross, the one and only Geraldine MacGyver. She's wonderful. Shaguna. Bricks Nation, again, you're awesome, man. And in a couple seconds, we'll get to our Sports Vibe TV Lounge. I just wanted to say hi to the family. We surveyed 100 people, what we call our field producer. We can't do a show without finding out the starting lineup.
Yep.
It's all, we surveyed 100 is awesome. JG, hope all is well. Even Best, SP, Jerry Fitz, again, Kaiser Soze, Wilson Dang, again. I brought up DB earlier. My guy Justin L. I haven't seen May 4th again. Hi, hope all is well. And we'll get to the thing. SP, Lex the Destroyer, one of the great mods in history. Miguel Gutierrez, Keith Turner. I said Juan Ventura. So Ace of Spade. I'll get to you. Do me a favor. If anyone is new, Oscar Zapata, UBG, Oni. If you are new to the SV Nation in the chat, do us a favor and do hashtag new so we can give you a proper hello and shout out. Our mods will definitely welcome you to the family, and we'll do it even best. Again, on Twitter and everything, you're awesome. So please do us. Hit that right now. We have a little over 200 people in 206 people. We have 98. So let's get over that 100 metric. We always ask that. Please hit that like. Please hit that subscribe. And if you have hit the subscribe, please tell your friends about it. And please hit that all reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content from Sports Vibe TV. And last but not least, as always, shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do.
Yep, appreciate the support. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like Foxy said, we got over 200 in chat after an L, so we appreciate you guys tuning in and wanting to chop up Knicks. I feel like we could chop the Knicks up right now with the way they've been playing so poorly. But you guys wanted to pull up and talk about the Knicks with us.
You're hanging out too much with me. Yeah, I'm rubbing off in the wrong way.
That whole say, and I said, you know what? So let's pivot a little bit. Jump right back into the Around the League segment, and let's talk about another player that some fans wanted the Knicks to be in on because he's going to be a free agent this offseason, and that's going to be Anthony Simons. Now, Simons seems like he's pretty comfortable staying in Portland, so it looks like he's going to be off the Knicks list when it comes to trying to find a player to put at point guard. He says, I 100% want to stay in Portland. Simon says of his upcoming free agency, and I think everybody wants me to stay as well. I think it's a perfect fit for me. So, Foxy, did you think the Knicks would have been in the Anthony Simons pursuit, or did you think he was going to stay in Portland the whole time?
The latter. I also think that he is. I also don't look at him as a point guard, but I think he is an absolute stud. I think he's going to be a long time 50, 40, 90. That's how superior this kid can shoot. He's spectacular. So I think he's seeing the writing on the wall that maybe, Dame, this will be my team if I just hang out and be patient. They have 2 picks in the top 10. So they can very easily, reconstruct this team. They can get I think Johnny Davis type of player would be, he's very similar to the type of player Simons is, but with Keegan Murray and a few other guys that would complement them, I could see them coming back as a serious team in a couple of years. With Simons being the cornerstone of that. He's magnificent on offense, terrible on defense. I mean, really bad on defense, but he's spectacular on offense. If you hit 50, 40, 90 standard, yeah, you're happening.
So what do you think the long-term move is with Damian Lillard? Do they move on from him? Because I see them going young, like you did. They brought in some, draft picks to make some selections this season. And, Simons is young. He's about to get on the second contract. Does Lillard have the time to wait? Do you think the Portland Trail Blazers are going to be able to build a legitimate contender in time for Lillard to actually be in the playoffs or get to the final, because we all know that's what he really wants to do, quote unquote. He wants to win a championship. But you have a team. They moved on from CJ McCollum. They moved on from Covington. They moved on from Powell. And now it looks like they're going with the youth movement. Nurkic, he's hurt again.
And he's a free agent. I don't know if they'll be signing him, but I also think Jalen Duran may be a guy in the draft that they take to be their new 5 of the future. So,
and at that point, what do you do with Lillard? You move on from Lillard before the draft so you can get some draft capital to use in this draft, or do you move him a little bit after the draft and continue to bring in more picks for next year's draft, which some may say could be, a better draft?
I think the latter. I think they're just saying, like you said, CJ and Covington and Powell, and that they're saying, you know what, we'll wait. He's injured also, but we'll wait. And maybe a team will give us the assets that are one player, unlike a Knicks team that need a lot of help in a lot of places. A team that's one player away to push them over the top for a championship. That they'll pay the tax and get Dame. So I don't see Dame being there in 2 years.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with Dame Lillard, but I don't think this is a proper destination for him anymore. So I don't think we'll be linked.
Yeah.
Maybe last year when it seemed like we were trending upward, but this season we've been in disarray. So I highly doubt you'll see us linked to Damian Lillard trade talks. If I'm Damian Lillard, I'm not trying to come over here and play with Julius.
Yeah, and the same thing goes in our discussion with Donovan, that the cost of getting him, we would just wipe out the quality. Anyone that's of any quality on this team, he'll be playing by himself, Dame. So that's not cool.
Yeah, so I want to jump to another story that's been circulating around the league, and it's the fact that New Orleans Pelican fans are kind of coming at Zion Williamson. Apparently, they had a Mardi Gras float where they put an oversized Zion Williamson on it with the jersey number 1, but on the bottom it said ton. So they're making jokes about him being overweight per se, and also the name of the float was Setback, to make fun of him having a setback with his foot injury. So what do you think this is going to do to Zion Williamson and maybe change his outlook on staying with the New Orleans Pelicans? If I'm Zion, I'm not going to be too happy about that.
Yeah, he's just.
You already heard reports that his family's not too thrilled about him being in New Orleans, and now they're making fun of him, and they're also showing, a lot of stacks of money when it comes to his contract, things like that. I mean, it's not looking too good down there in New Orleans.
That the fat shaming and everything else, that I think for sure that he's saying one thing is me having issues with the front office and people, JJ Redick saying I'm distant and I didn't call CJ McCollum or timely enough for these guys. And, and I have to applaud you last week that you said something this is a young guy, he was on top of the world, and who wouldn't be depressed with the injury, folks? This is career threatening. So for this not to heal, for him having to get this injection, for him to go, leave and go to Portland or whatever, this is a young man looking at his future, like saying, I thought I was going to be, the next superstar. I had all the things, and now I don't know if I'll ever get on the court again without re-breaking or having this issue again. And now it was bad enough I had this in the front office. Now I got the fans hating on me at Mardi Gras with a float, and that everyone's laughing at me. Get me, the agent on the phone, get me the hell out of here as fast as possible. But as a Knicks fan, and as a, putting on my GM hat, and us having the wonderful ability of having a guy like Keith that has walked us through talking to his doctor friend and, showing us the x-rays and everything. It's too much, folks. You're throwing the dice with the kid's a good kid. Forget about all the other stuff. And he's unstoppable, but it's too much of a price to pay for somebody that there's a really frightening chance that even if he comes back, he's going to get re-injured again. And you just can't throw the dice like that. And on paper, in a perfect world, oh my God, you're bringing, all you need is Trey Jones, the trade for Trey Jones, and you got Duke here, Trey Jones, Cam Reddish, RJ and Zion. It's a reunion, but I don't think it'd be a good reunion with Zion. But I feel badly that he's getting shamed like that in public, and he's a young man, But that I think is a dagger. I think that could be the camel that breaks the straw that breaks the camel's back, and him saying, When I'm able to get the hell out of here, I am out of here.
Yeah, I didn't want to, play the video, put the photos out there, especially knowing me. I could use a few sit-ups myself, so I didn't want to get into it. But with Zion, I really don't want us trying to pursue a Zion Williamson trade unless he's able to show he can get back onto the court. Because I'm not going to act like he's not, a transcendent talent in this league. But you can't even talk about trying to pursue Zion until he shows the ability to be healthy, especially with this type of injury. And, the last time we saw him, he did look to be somewhat overweight, or he had some additional weight on him. And you can somewhat understand that because he's dealing with a foot injury. He's probably not able to be as active as he would have been if he was fully healthy, not able to get his cardio in. So you expect him to gain some weight, but I would like to see him back in shape, pull some kind of James Harden transformation, be healthy out there on the court, and then we can start to discuss some sort of a move in order to bring him in. But to bring him in and kind of pay the assets it would cost in order to get that deal done, I think it would be too much and too risky without knowing 100% that he's ready to be out there on the court. And the same thing with the Zion deal that you would look at a Mitchell deal. Would the Pelicans be willing to move on from Zion in a deal that doesn't include RJ? That's another question. And will they take Julius Randle back and pair Julius Randle with Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum? Because that's the route I would go. It would have to be for Julius Randle swap and some filler.
I'm with you. I'm with you. When I look at Zion, he reminds me from a DNA and frame wise of like a right tackle or a left tackle in football that retires, and you see him a couple years after they retire, and they're like 350 pounds, and it's like, yo, they're just huge human beings. It's not. They're just huge human beings, and I think he's just a huge dude, and that every day is going to be a fight for him to keep on basketball weight. But when he's not active, he's going to be like those tackles, man. He's just going to be huge. And the way he plays and being that size, it's just a bad recipe for just getting re-injured. So, and it's a shame. He's a wonderful kid. Everything through the draft process a couple of years ago and everything, I only heard phenomenal things about him as a kid. That he's a really good kid. So JJ, all these things, the fans making him out to be an ogre. You were right last week, Keese. He's a young man dealing with a setback that in a million years he never thought he'd deal with. How do you deal with something like that? You worked your whole life to reach the pinnacle, and now it's being taken away from me. Yeah, maybe I'm not going to make the right calls and do certain things. All that makes me is a normal young man. I'm dealing with something serious. So, back off this kid, man. And I really pray for him to get well. We've seen some guys that came back in this league. Brook Lopez early in his career, never thought he'd have a long career. He was out year after year with foot issues, and then he's had a long career. So God willing, Zion can do that. But they're two different physiques and stuff, and two different games. So as violent as he goes up and dunks it is as violent as he comes back down on that foot. And on that
Zion
fifth,
is way more explosive than a Brook Lopez.
But that fifth metatarsal just can't take it. And like you said, that blood circulation and everything, it's just everything for issues. And it's also the type of thing that all he needs is a guy down in that paint because he lives in the paint. He doesn't shoot threes. He can't shoot threes and everything else. Somebody's stepping on that foot. There's just so many things that can happen.
Stepping on somebody else.
Somebody else
that play with Embiid. That was a scary play. Embiid stepped on, who was it, Fournier's foot?
Yeah, and he was laying there.
Knee. That was a little scary.
Yeah, and he was holding that knee, and I was, I love every player in this league. I don't care what team they play for. As somebody that watches them the way I do, I just have so much respect of the hard work that they put in to reach this level. I don't want anyone ever injured, man, ever.
We got a super chat from Ray Rivera. He says, did you guys say you won't trade RJ for Mitchell? The league would laugh at us. We overrate our players. RJ has to be a franchise star. Then I don't know yet. Honestly, we trade RJ for Mitchell. We're trading RJ and some additional pieces and some picks to pair Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle. I really don't see that as a pairing for success. So that's one of the main reasons I wouldn't trade RJ. And also, I think RJ at some point could potentially be, at the same level as a Donovan Mitchell if we continue to see him develop the way we've had in recent weeks. If he's able to knocked, well, I can't say reach, he just got back, but in the last couple of games and before we got hurt, if he's able to knock down the three and expand his game to expand his mid range, I think he'll be a very dangerous player. We're already seeing him drop 46 points. He dropped 24 tonight against the 76ers. And I think we'll continue to see him get better and better as the season progresses and as the team starts to make him more of a focal point and running the offense through him. So I wouldn't want to give up on an RJ Barrett when I still don't think he's reached his ceiling, and move on from him to pair Mitchell with Julius Randle. And I don't think that gets us much further than we are right now. So that's why I wouldn't trade RJ in a Mitchell deal. What about you,
Yeah.
Foxy?
I feel the same way, and I have great respect for Mitchell, but at the same time, with all of that talent, that crazy talent he hasn't been able to make them a winner. He hasn't been able to take them over the top and put them, I loved his shootout a couple of years ago against Jamal and the bubble and stuff, but he hasn't been able to. And maybe that's why he dislikes Rudy or, Joe Ingles, that you haven't put the guys around me. But, you know, I can understand Ray Rivera. Thanks again for the super chat saying that, RJ, but he's 21 years old. He scored. I'm saying he scored 50 points the other day. That anomaly, to do that is frightening. To average 20 points is unbelievable. He's doing things on a crummy team at such a young age. And like I said, he didn't score 46 points. He scored 46 points against Jimmy Butler. You have to look at it that way, that it takes somebody elite, because Butler's a dog. You think he wants to get shown up on on TV? Yeah, and he was a man about it, Butler. I have to do that. And this is the face of the franchise. So if somebody does that to Jimmy Butler, he's got game, man. And this is 21. So and he's 21. So Donovan, I love you. We can get you as a free agent, but no, I wouldn't clean house for you, man.
Yeah. Also, Ray Rivera, he says use Randle to get someone else, not pair him with Donovan.
I don't know if we get rid of Randle. He's untradeable.
Yeah, now that's too many variables, because how do we know if we move on from RJ that we're going to be able to trade Randle and bring someone in that's a better pairing?
Yeah.
Because that would have to be a deal where everything gets done in the same transaction. It would have to be a 3 or 4 team deal, so that way I know what I'm getting or who I'm getting to pair with Donovan Mitchell moving forward. I'm not going to trade RJ and bring in Mitchell, and then I'll say at that point we're going to figure out what to do with Randle.
Yeah. But Randle, the worst part of Randle, what he's doing, his behavior, everything he's doing, is the only way we get rid of Randle is taking back somebody's problem now. So we're going to have to give up our problem to get somebody else's problem. Because nobody, like I said, everybody would say, you know what, 20-10-5 every night. And yeah, all right, 4 or 5 turnovers, we can deal with that. But the other behaviors, telling the Knicks fans, you know what, and the thumbs down and smacking computers and Fournier and body language, whether RJ the other night that I brought up, just staring at him rather than trying to run down the ball and stuff like that. What team wants to bring that on? And if not, and they do, they're going to give us back their version of the bad attitude, Julius. So we're really in a conundrum with Randle. I think that's where we're going to have to say, you know what, for the development of our young core, RJ, the kids we have, and whomever we get in this draft, that Randle's the wrong guy on this team is a bad influence, man.
Yeah. So, Foxy, go. You was going to say something before we wrap up? Not wrap up, but before we get back into the Around the League?
No. Keep going.
All right. So, the last story, this one was pretty interesting. Seems to be some trouble in La La Land between Bron and pretty much everybody at this point, because earlier in the season, it was Vogel that was potentially on the hot seat to get fired. And now they're saying that, LeBron is trying to get the GM out of there, get Pelinka out of there, and bring in potentially Sam Presti. So here, this was this tweet from NBA Central. It says, I heard that he was trying to get Sam Presti in there to replace Rob. I don't see that happening, but I could see him trying to get Pelinka out of there. Eastern Conference GM on LeBron James. So now do you think LeBron's getting a little bit too ahead of himself now? Now he's making his GM choices, makes the coaching choices, and he's making roster choices. How do you see this shaking up over in Los Angeles between LeBron and the front office? You think LeBron's going to get his way?
Well, he usually does, but Karma's a real bitch. I had a huge laugh on him. I have the greatest respect for him on the court. I can't stand him as a person though. I loved at the All-Star game that he was in his hometown of Cleveland and the fans cheered at such a level different for Michael Jordan than their own hometown boy. But so I've been enjoying. So this week I had the biggest smile on my face because we've seen previous this year where he played Mr. GM telling them what to do. Get me Westbrook. All right, we got you Westbrook, and now look what the hell happened. But then I'm like saying, oh, Karma's wonderful. Did you see this week? He gave Melo at the end of the game put up a 35-foot three that barely grazed it, and they lost to the Clippers. And he gave the biggest dirty look. So he's becoming LA's version of Randall, giving Russell Westbrook dirty looks, giving Melo, I thought what was this guy's a dirty look. He's becoming crazy, man. That he's becoming power hungry. So you were the GM, you brought in Russell, you brought in Melo, and now you're turning on them because they're not doing quote unquote what they're supposed to do. He's not running back on defense. He's doing Randall. He's yelling at every call he doesn't get. So it's like, he's such a poser in some ways, that all-star game, I shot shit, but let me get the last shot and we'll close it out so I could be the man. So it's like, hey, LeBron, I love you, but with his son, his comments, I want to play with my son. His son's not an NBA caliber player. So now you're using your power to have a kid that probably is not even G League level quality to play. So you're going to use your clout to have him play so you can play along him. Good. The karma's crazy. Play with your son on a shitty team in the future. But, LeBron, you're great on the court, but you're a real character, man.
Yeah, man. I'm not shocked to see things kind of burning in LA because that's usually what happens when LeBron either gets there or towards the end of his tenure. It just so happens that now with Bron being a little bit older, he's not able to carry his teams the way we've seen in the past. And now when there's losing, it really is not able to cover up some of the stench that comes with LeBron and having to deal with some of his demands. And now to see him go up against the GM is kind of interesting. You're talking about, karma and things like that. Well, this is coming back for Pelinka because remember, Pelinka was kind of working behind the scenes trying to get Magic Johnson out of there when he was the one in charge of the show over there. So I'm interested to see what happens. Presti being included, that was kind of interesting. I'd be interested in seeing what Presti can do with a franchise that actually has the budget of a large market team. Because we've seen Presti, he's drafted 3 MVP so far between.
I was about to say, I'll take Presti here, man. I'll take Presti here.
Right.
Open up, yeah. But you know what? Also on LeBron that hit me in the head, he reamed out one of the kids. I think it was Reeves, one of the rookies this year, for missing a defensive assignment, and because all their games are. You don't do that to a kid, you do it in and quietly in a timeout and stuff, but on national TV, you do that. His parents, his friends, everyone's watching, so he's doing that to the young kids. He's doing it to the vets, so he's becoming like a spoiled brat. He doesn't get his way. He's going to have a tantrum. And you know what?
Pout or take his ball and leave.
Yeah. So he'll have a tantrum. I'd love to see them miss even the play-in, man. Like I said, karma's a bitch.
Facts. So, Foxy, guess what time it is?
What time is it, my friend?
It is time for the Sports Vibes TV Lounge. This is the section of the show where you guys give us your questions, a Q&A section, and you let us know what you want to ask us, and we'll oblige. So let us know what you want to know in the chat, and also so we can so those comments can stick out. If you have a question, just put hashtag SVTV. That way, Foxy and I can pinpoint them, and then we can respond.
Yeah, anything you want is our favorite part. You're the third host. This is the SV Nation Takeover. We talk Knicks. You want to talk draft? Your boy Foxy, I think, had watched 11 college games over the last several days. So shout out to my friends. Again, D is balling. We've been talking nonstop. We've been watching games together. Stop, rewind. So anything you guys want to talk about, we're ready to rock with you.
This is interesting from Nick Yak. It says, I think next year with Brunson running, high-sitting players when playing good, Mitch, Randall, Cam, Evan Fournier.
I hope Randall's not there, but
Yeah, right.
Nick Yak, I like everything other than the Randall part. And
Swap Randall for Brunson.
I don't think they'll do that, but I wouldn't be surprised because of contracts wise, Mitch for Brunson. They basically have the same type of contract.
Well, no, I'm just saying in the lineup, not trade.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, but you know what? Fournier, I wouldn't mind us getting rid of Fournier either. He had a good game today, and he can shoot well, but defensively and stuff like that, give Cam the shot. And I also feel very strongly Grimes will come back from this knee injury and his future with us. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind, Fournier and Randall not being here next year. But I'd love Brunson to play with RJ.
Evan Best says Ty in Washington, yes or no?
No, folks, did you watch Ty yesterday? Please, let's put an end to this. It just shows how bad this draft is that he's even in the top 10. He scored his first basket with 3 minutes and 52 seconds to go in the game yesterday. So he's not a point guard. He's not a point guard. And for the last time, he's not a point guard. He's an off guard. And even there, he's just okay. But it's just a lousy draft. But Ty is absolutely not the point guard answer. There's really no point guards in this draft. And Ty is not the answer. There's so much better choices for us to get this year. But thank you, man. And again, I enjoy talking with you on Twitter and stuff.
This is from Jerry Fitz. It says, it's Knicks' issue with Randall. He is very good. He is not a number one option. He is barely a number two. When Randall and RJ are the team's number 2 and number 3 option with a legit number 1 and an upgrade at center, we will arrive. The thing is, when RJ has the ball, I don't really see Julius Randle doing much off ball. It seems like for Julius Randle to be effective, he has to have the ball in his hand. And that's why I feel like we have to move on from Julius Randle, because I really don't see us getting the same level of production from him if he's not the quote unquote engine or running the show. He just really doesn't do much when the rock's not in his hand. When he's playing off ball, he's pretty much watching for the most part.
Yeah, exactly.
Really not involved in the offense at all. Maybe that might be a coaching issue, and if we brought in a new coach, we might see some more. But I just don't see Julius Randle being great off ball, and that's, I think, the crux of the issue.
Yeah, and also his mentality. He thinks of himself as a 1. Everybody else who assesses him, even if we got a number 1 here, no different than RJ clapping his hand for the ball. He'll do that same thing to us. He'd do that to a Donovan Mitchell. He sees himself as a 1, and that's the problem. He will never take a step back and see the reality that he's a very talented player. You don't make second team All NBA without being talented. He's his biggest enemy, and it's not something he'll ever be able to get over. So we got to move on from him, Jerry.
Facts. JD, salute to our guy JD.
Yeah,
doing big things over there on Knicks Fan TV. He says, great show scenario. Knicks win the lottery. They keep the pick and decide to draft. Who you pick? Hashtag
number 1
dilemma. Hashtag SVTV.
Number 1 pick.
Number 1.
Yeah, JD, I love you, man, but I take the lesson from last year. Last year, the sexy pick was Cade and Jalen Green. The smart pick was Evan Mobley. This year, the smart pick, I think, would be Chet Holmgren. That you look at him, oh my God, he's skinny and everything. He's his IQ, 6 blocks. He will have blocks. He's a stretch. He's that type of kid. You look at KD. I think he's a guy that he's going to be able to be durable, but he's very, very talented. Jaden is wonderful, but I watched him the other game. There's a lot of work. Jaden is electric. He is uber. He has generational talent athletically. He's spectacular. And, he's a monster in transition and a mortal on half court. So in this league, they're going to basically say, we're going to pack the paint. We're going to make you shoot JD. We're going to make you shoot Jaden. And he's going to become mortal real quick. You'll have to work on that. So I think maybe the lesson from last year is to learn that Chet could really be a difference maker on the defensive side. On the offensive side, imagine having a stretch 5 and what it would do for this team. A guy could, from the pinch post pass and everything else. I think his upside is huge. So absolutely, Jaden is a sexy choice, but I think maybe the right choice would be Chet.
Yeah, I'm a risk taker. You could take Chet. I'd see if I can trade down if I get number 1 and still get Ivy. see if I can get more assets and make that
Yeah.
move.
Yeah. I am loving Ben Mathurin. He has work to do on his creating his own shot, his handles, but I think he's spectacular. This kid, he can shoot. He's a gorgeous shooter. I mean, he's already a 3-point, 2-point, explosive. You watch the game yesterday, man. He explodes the whole dunk, hits the three. Guy blocks the shot on Colorado, comes down as a dog and blocks his shot and gives him a look like, I got you back, man. I love players like that. Johnny Davis. So that's why I'm saying, JD, we have to be 5 or higher. Otherwise, at 6 and below, 6 and down, we're not going to get the type of player we want. So I really hope we hit that spot or at least trade up to there. But if we win the lottery, answer your question, Chet Holmgren.
Wilson Deng says the Knicks will never get the number 1 pick again.
Word. I know, man.
Best we'll get 3.
And if we get 3 this year, I'd be the happiest guy in the world. Because the one thing that I'm hoping this year is Jabari Smith from Auburn and Paolo Banchero of Duke are dropping in my thing greatly. But I'm hoping teams like Orlando that are just real heavy on the guard are going to take them. So they'll take them, and maybe Detroit will take Jabari and whomever, and that that's somebody's going to fall to us if I'm hoping that we're going to keep this trajectory. I want RJ and everything to develop, but I think we're going to lose a shitload of games going forward. And if we do, I think it's a good thing, as crazy as it sounds, because if we get the right player, it will be we can add a key piece to RJ, and we get a Brunson. All of a sudden we have something special, man.
So salute to JD for the question. Finesseful J says Randall for Brogdon is a good one. They need to toss in a second, though. Brogdon is injury prone. And you mentioned it at the end of your comment why I would try to stay away from Brogdon, man. He's always in and out of the lineup. Too injury prone for me.
But you know what? I'd take an injury-prone Brogdon to just get rid of Randall. I'm at that point where it's like, you know what? I'll take a guy that's here sometimes. I'll patch somebody in at power forward and have, and do things that, I saw a kid yesterday, Jabari Walker in Colorado. I was saying, you know what? Assists and other things that Randall does can be distributed to RJ and other guys. So I don't need Randall here for doing his assist stuff. I can get somebody here that gets 10 rebounds a game, and I can get a power forward that scores 14 and not 20 and give those 6 or 8 more points to RJ and other guys. So I am real cool with I just want to get rid of Randall, and I take on an injury prone Brogdon. He's a dog.
Yeah,
I like him.
I'm still trying to keep faith that we can move off of Julius Randle and get a impact player in return. But even if it's just for Julius Randle to kind of make the salaries match, and we have to include additional assets, that's what I'm holding out hope for. To bring in Brogdon, to me, I don't think it moves the needle. He wasn't able to win with the Pacers. They decided to blow things up. So I don't know if him over here is really going to make us the final product that we actually want as Knicks fans, which is a team that can contend.
Yeah. Hey, my friend Hinton Murphy. Hi, Hinton. Hope all is well with you and your family. The Knicks cannot miss on any player in this draft. Pressure is high this year. Hinton, I have great respect for your Hinton. Who do you like in the draft? So getting back to our guy, our friend JD, if we got the number 1 choice, who would you take, Hinton, as the number 1 choice? And also SV Nation, I'd love to hear your feedback. Oh, Hat Whisperer. I'd like to get JD Davison. It's Davison. There's no D in it, from Alabama. He's not a sleeper. He is DSJ revisited. He is uber athletic and doesn't know what the hell he's doing on the court. So he has a nice fro. And other than that, I would absolutely tell him to go back to school for another year, because he is not a point guard. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing as a point guard. So the worst thing he could do is come out this year.
Nick Yak says, I'm not giving up on Randall until I see him with Brunson. It could work. Cam looked promising. I mean, yeah, I want to see how Julius Randle looks with a point guard as well. But the thing is, will Julius Randle give up some of the control of the offense? You have a coach like Tom Thibodeau. I call him Tom the Enabler Thibodeau, who seems like he's joined at the hip with Julius Randle. So even if we do bring in a point guard, are they going to relegate him to the same Alfred Payton role we saw last season, where he's not really involved that much? He's not really setting the table, and we're still funneling everything through Julius Randle so he can get his spin on and then, do a jump pass into traffic.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Randall will allow a quality point guard to do what he needs to do. I think, like you said, the only people he can play with is an Alfred Payton. I use the term, God knows how many shows again, a subservient point guard that just comes down, feeds him the ball, and that's it. And we don't need him to do that, and especially when they double team him and he makes bad decisions.
Thanks. Hinton Murphy says the Knicks cannot miss on any player in this draft. Pressure is high this year.
Yeah, Hinton, we want to hear from you, man. What's your thoughts? What player would you take, man? It's all depends on where we sit. I like Tim Plant. I'm going to take Chet first. Yo, he may be the safe pick. Yeah. Smart, meaning Evan Murphy. Evan Mobley, everybody's now saying, yo, he should have went number one, man. He should have went number one. And nothing against Cade. Cade's coming on well and stuff, but it's about both sides of the floor. And a guy that can, Chet, like I said, 4 blocks a game, and stuff that doesn't show up in box scores, intimidating and stuff like that. Mitch is not, if we get a Chet, if we can get Mitch at a good price as a second team guy, but, there's a big difference between Chet and Mitch. My God.
Let's see what we got going on. Talking about Randall's contract. Randall is just not a number one. And then Jerry Fitz says 27 million is number 2 option money. It is, but what are we seeing out there on the court? We're seeing the team still go through Julius Randle as the number one, and it's not working. Not only that, I think sometimes it's to the detriment of the other players out there on the court. A lot of the times Julius Randle makes some bad decisions out there. I think if you look at what he's able to do, he is at times able to push the pace and get the ball up the court, but sometimes he can be a little bit out of control. And a lot of his turnovers kind of come when this team is making runs. So I know he's not being paid as the number one, but we have to analyze him as the number one because that's what Tibbs is deploying him as out there on the court, and it's not good so far. And until we can see something from Julius Randle where we see he can take a step back and be a number 2, then we have to say that he's not the best fit for this team, because when RJ Barrett does step up and try to be that number 1, we aren't getting great performances from Julius Randle. So I can't sit there and say, even if we do bring in someone else, that Julius Randle's going to slide over to that number 2 position and flourish.
Yeah. And, just dribbling up, JD has world-class takes. Folks, if you haven't subscribed to Knicks Fan TV, then you're one of the only people who haven't. It's just a spectacular show with CP, Casey Powell, and the crew, but our boy JD that we love. JD said something a while ago that just sticks in my mind about Randle versus other great players and what the problem with Tibbs and stuff. Great players get the ball in their spot, and then they do their magic. Randle dribbles the ball and gets to his spot. So the time on the shot clock and everything for him to dribble to get to his spot, that's when the problems happen. And then Wally Szczerbiak is in my head. Wally said, anytime Randle takes more than 2 dribbles, a turnover is right around the corner. So until we get a coach that says, no, Julius, you run to your spot and we'll get the ball there. You're not bringing this ball up anymore down the court, because every time you do that, there's something bad that's going to happen, or you're not seeing the floor the way a real point guard or a real, a distributor, would.
Floor general.
A floor general. Thank you. That, God, I need you the worst way to translate this crazy mind. But yeah, so we don't put Randle in the spot to succeed, but also Randle won't allow that, man. He does stuff like, he looks off players. How many times have we seen him look off open players this year to do stuff? He's not the right guy, man.
Yeah. So I think we had a great show, Foxy. Chopped it up. Hour and 50 minutes. We still got 190 in chat. Thank you guys for tuning in, especially during a tough season. for Knicks fans. Foxy, any last words before we sign off for tonight?
I just see my friend John Talenta pulled in. Just wanted to always. John is a legendary mod in the world on Knicks Fan TV and stuff. But besides that, he's a world class guy. So hi, hope all is well. Wyatt Corville. Just wanted to say we love you, SV Nation. Thank you. And as we talked about, it's tough as podcasters. We don't want to be negative Nellies, when Keith and I talk behind the scenes and stuff, and we're putting together the format for the show and stuff. We're trying to be as cool as possible. Like the last thing we want to do is do 2 hours of Tibbs sucks, Randall sucks, front office sucks. So that's why whether it's draft and around the league, we're trying to keep as upbeat as possible. But we're New York boys. You can't take the Bronx out of both Keith and I. We try to, we're just keeping it real. So thank you. It's just very, very difficult. You're in a difficult position as a podcaster to keep it real, but not be a negative Nelly and stuff. So thank you for and also, for people in the replay gang, if you don't watch the chat, we answer comments, and the comments that I make and stuff, it's my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. It's just my opinion. So when I say stuff, I'm not saying I'm right. It's what I thought. It's my analysis and what I come up with. And if you have a different opinion, I have great respect for that. So, so please, I'm not trying to come off in any way that I'm a know-it-all. It's just my opinion, but I appreciate your opinion, and thank you for your comments.
Facts. So just want to thank you guys for tuning in. We are live every Sunday at 8 p.m. talking about our Knicks win, lose, or we don't have draws in the NBA. This is about football.
I don't have draws now.
Hey, yo.
I better not stand up. Oh my God. Hey, the ratings have dipped for some reason. I don't know about that. Yo, where's the place to be? Sports Vibes TV. Yo, Sundays at 8.
Know.
Oh.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, I'm Keith, your host. That's our NBA analyst, Stephen Fox. We are co-hosts of the Knicks Sunday stream every week, every